Just think positive thoughts about the terrible situation you are in, and everything will be okay. That is typically the promise made from those who promote the idea of the power of positive thinking. But, moms, are we allowed to just have a bad day? Hey, mom. So, welcome to the Life Unboxed podcast, where we talk about all things momtrepreneur, from raising your kids to running a business, and the most important one, keeping your sanity. I am Jody the mom, a successful virtual assistant and homeschool mom of 6 for almost 10 years. My goal is to give you as much help as possible so that you can confidently start a business and homeschool your kids. So be sure to visit lifeunboxed.blog and download your free Mom Boss 2.0 workbook. And if you like to be a rebel mom and break all the rules, then this is definitely for you. And remember, you can support the show with coffee. Visit Ko-fi, that's ko-fi.com/Life Unboxed blog, and buy this mom some coffee. All right, so let's get into this week's topic. As a busy work from home mom and homeschool mom, it often feels like you can never have a bad day. And of course, there's another show on that one too. You can find the link in the descriptions. The kids are watching us. We have clients to juggle. We need to keep up the facade of everything being under control. There are no chinks in our super mom armor, right? If you do have a bad day, then you aren't thinking positively enough. Come on now. Or you experience the guilt that you should have more control over your situation. Is it possible to just give ourselves permission to have a crappy day? We all have people in our lives who paste on the fake smile and with a saccharine, sweet voice declare that something bad is positive. Do you know what I'm talking about? It is toxic positivity. And yes, you can learn more about that in the link below, in the show notes below. I know you're thinking, wait a minute here. I thought the power of positive thinking was a good thing. How can it be toxic then? Before we continue, let me just state that I am not a psychologist, but neither was the guy who came up with the idea. This post is intended to be thought-provoking. It is a discussion about a popular idea that is totally accepted, but I think it needs to be thought through. As rebel moms, we can question the popularly accepted ideas. So let's talk about how the power of positive thinking leads to toxic positivity. So I confess, I wrestle with the notion of the power of positive thinking. I even stopped listening to a podcast because I was tired of hearing, just be positive about the crappy situation you're in and everything will be okay. I had just been laid off from my job. Half of our income and our childcare was gone. So here I was struggling to make lemonade out of the lemons I was handed. But to be honest, it was more like, should I make lemonade or should I freeze them and throw them at the people responsible? Yeah, we all have those thoughts. But the last thing I needed to hear was just be positive. What I really needed to hear was, this is a bad situation. It is okay to feel all the negative and stressful feelings. That would have been more helpful. And sometimes we just need to acknowledge our feelings instead of burying them under a fake facade of positivity. So since that time, because that was 10 years ago, or 8 years ago, almost 10, I've pushed this idea as far away as I could because I've seen people use it to misdiagnose reality and hope if they just stay positive, it is enough and everything will be okay. The problem with this idea is you don't work on your situation. If you are promised that everything will work out, if you just stay positive, then you don't need to do anything more with it. it becomes the easy solution. You feel like you're doing something about your difficult circumstances, but in reality, nothing is changing. Toxic positivity prevents growth because it allows you to avoid feelings that are painful, stressful, frustrating, overwhelming, etc., etc. You know, all those hard feelings that we really want to avoid. So, does the power of positive thinking never work? So, I ran as hard as I could from the idea that I should look positively at every bad situation. I was so frustrated. It didn't matter how hard I tried to think positively, my situation wasn't changing by me just thinking good thoughts about it. I could repeat the mantra over and over again, but the feelings of anger and injustice were right below the surface. So I stopped trying to put a positive spin on it. But in the service of reality, everything was looked at negatively. Yes, I ran so hard in the opposite direction that I couldn't see the positive anymore. Except maybe in hindsight, which we all have the best vision when we look at it in hindsight. But here's the thing. I do believe the science of being grateful and how it impacts our brains. But the idea that the power of positive thinking should be applied to every situation leads to toxic positivity. Any idea that leans too heavily on one extreme or the other usually isn't helpful. And that's why the power of positive thinking requires balance. It isn't helpful to you or those around you to be a negative Nancy all the time. This can create other physical and mental health issues. But neither is it helpful to paste on the fake smile and with that saccharine voice declare everything is just peachy keen. Ignoring emotions causes physical and mental health issues as well. So this is really one of those ideas that requires balance in the force. And here are some tips to find that balance. Number 1, acknowledge emotions. If you pretend your emotions don't exist, they don't go away. They will just sit there in the depths of your soul and wait for an inopportune time to burst forth. Experience maybe talking on that one. Number 2, work through them. You do need to work through your emotions, and depending on the situation, it can take some time. More time than we usually want to give. Now, working through your emotions doesn't mean you create a video to post on social media. You know, the ones where someone is like crying about how hard her really good life is with the sole purpose of getting people to feel sorry for her. This is not working through your emotions. The purpose should always be to deal with them so you can get past them, forgive, and move on. You don't want your emotions to hold you back. Number 3, have hope. So in Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning, he talked about the importance of hope in the concentration camps. And he made the observation that those who completely lost hope had died within a few days. Like he got to the point, because he was a psychiatrist too, he got to the point where he knew he could tell you who would end up dying, and it would be those who had lost hope. Because hope is a very powerful emotion. It is important to find it no matter how dark your circumstances are. Number 4 is work on your circumstances. Sometimes things happen that are completely out of your control. You can't change what happened, but you can figure a way out. So when I was laid off, I couldn't change that. It happened and it was completely out of my control. It was nothing I did, anything like that. It was just a business decision that was made. The only thing that was in my control was starting my own business. I could change how I worked and took care of my kids. That was a circumstance that I could work on. Number 5, you have permission to cry. So did you know that crying is good for you? There are health benefits associated with crying. I have a confession. So crying is not my favorite thing to do. I try to hide and hope nobody notices, which is really hard since my whole face turns red. Like you can't really hide it, like when your whole face blows up beet red. The problem I have with crying is that it is my default when I'm sad, frustrated, or angry. And who can take me seriously when I'm crying from anger? Like, I want people to know I'm angry. And who can take you seriously if you're crying while you're angry? But there's usually relief that comes with crying out your emotions. So don't try to stop it. Maybe just sit by yourself and let it out. So the power of positive thinking needs balance. You don't want to be negative, but also recognize the good things in the midst of your circumstances, and not in a fake way, in a genuine way. Writing down your thoughts in the moment can help you look at your circumstances with hope. So grab one of my mom notebooks, the link is in the description below, and start writing. So tell me, what do you think about the power of positive thinking? Is it a good thing, bad thing, helpful thing, or we just need to ditch the whole idea altogether? Let me know in the comments below, wherever you're listening to this. So I am so glad you joined me today. If you want to help spread the word, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. You can listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Remember to check out the Life Unboxed store for all of your Mom Boss merch. And you can support the show with coffee, one of my favorite things, one thing that I'm always grateful for. Visit Ko-fi, that's ko-fi.com/Life Unboxed blog, and you can buy me a cup of joe. For more great momtrepreneur content, follow Life Unboxed on social media or check out lifeunboxed.blog. And be sure to share the podcast and video with your friends.